Hi everybody, in this video we are going to discuss about NumPy package. It is a Python package which has got a lot of numerical operations based on arrays, matrices and also for solving system equations. This package is very important when we look at data science and machine learning algorithms. So these packages are internally used in other packages which work on machine learning algorithms like SciPy, Matplotlib, scikit-learn and so on. It is we have got a lot of options to do operations on arrays as well as matrices, and it is very much similar to list. So a question may arise, why should we have a NumPy array when we have already got a list? So to understand it, let's just recall the point that Python is very flexible and the numerical values can be very large. It allows us to have very large values as numbers. So now memory that will be allocated for numbers will be so high, there is no option for us to restrict. For example, if I know that I require only 32 bits of memory, I do not have an option in Python to restrict to allocate only 32 bits. Like in C we can do int, then it will allocate only 32 bits. If it is long, and it's going to allocate only 64 bits and so on. So that's a problem actually. Of course it's a flexibility. That's a problem when we are going to have a huge amount of data. It's going to take a lot of memory as well as it is going to take more time to work on the operations. And NumPy is a package which is going to overcome this problem. What it is going to do is, it is going to allow us to mention the data type. It will give you an option to mention. Of course you need not also mention. In that case it will automatically infer from the type of values what we are storing there. Then it will infer as float only. It will not take it as int, right? If you want to specifically tell, also there is an option. By that way we can have a better control over the memory and the speed of the operations will be obviously more. And one more difference between list and NumPy arrays is, in list we have got an advantage that the elements can be heterogeneous. Of course it's an advantage, but in all the places that may not be required, and that may take little more of time also. So in NumPy what they have done is, you can have only homogeneous type of elements. You cannot have heterogeneous type of elements, right? Or I can tell that NumPy arrays are more or less very much similar to C or C++ arrays. First we are going to see and compare about the memory that is required for storing a list of 1 lakh elements and a NumPy array for 1 lakh elements. We are just importing NumPy as NP, and sys package is imported because we are going to use certain functions to get the size of elements and so on. Here in this line we are just creating a sequence of elements from 0 to 599999 and we are converting it to Python list. And then we are computing how much of bytes would have been allocated for that. For that we are using the getSize function of sys package and we are multiplying by the length of the list. And next we are using the arange function of NumPy. Arange function is similar to range function of Python which will generate numbers. So here also we have not given the start value. Obviously it will start from 0 and go up to 9999, 5 nines, right? And it is a NumPy array. And as I was telling, all the items will be of same data type only. So you can know how much of memory will be allocated for one item in the NumPy array by using its feature d.itemSize. I am telling here d.size into d.itemSize. This will be the total memory that will be allocated for the entire NumPy array. When we execute this code, we can see that this is the memory allocated for list of 1 lakh elements. And this is the memory allocated for NumPy array of 1 lakh elements. We can note that there is a huge difference. This is an advantage when we are going to have large amount of data. Next what we are going to do is, we are going to see that NumPy arrays work faster than list. For this we are taking now two lists of 1 lakh elements and we are going to perform addition. We are using time package for measuring the time. Here we are noting down the current time before making the operation, addition operation. Generate the sequence of 1 lakh elements, store it in X. Next generate a sequence of 1 lakh elements, store it in Y. And then we are using list comprehension for creating a list with elements added from X and Y. After that we are measuring once again the time. We are saying what is the time and find the difference. This will be the time taken for the entire computation. We just measure it. We see that it is going to be 0.04 millisecond. We are doing the same operation for NumPy arrays also. We generate 1 lakh elements, store it in A1 and then store it in A2. We are saying the time, measure the time. Let me put it above, right? Yeah. And then we are adding it. Adding in NumPy is very simple. We can just give plus sign between the two NumPy arrays. NumPy arrays basically do arithmetic operations of equal sized arrays in a very straightforward method. When I have got A1 and A2 which are of equal size, if I tell A1 plus A2, then the ith element in A1 will be added with ith element in A2. Right, and the result also will be a NumPy array which is of same size as that of A1 and A2. We can do all the operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication and so on. And we can see a lot of differences there. In the time, it is taking much less time when you compare to the list. This is the advantage. Now we are going to see how we can create a NumPy array. We can create a one-dimensional, two-dimensional or three-dimensional arrays. We can use like this, a list. There are also predefined functions that we will see later part of the lecture. Now we will just see how to create a NumPy array from a list of elements. If you have got a list of elements like this, then you just use np.array. It will convert it into a NumPy array. You can also have a tuple, but we have to put it inside a list and we have to give it. When you want a two-dimensional NumPy array, we have to go for list of list in Python. Here we are having two rows, so two sublists are there, and in each row we are going to have 3 elements. So each of the sublists has got 3 elements. When we execute, we can see the two-dimensional array is created. When we want to create a three-dimensional array, it's possible. So you just create list of list. So this is the first sublist which is 2D, and this is the second sublist, and this is the first row in the 2D, right? You can also use tuples or square brackets. Either a parenthesis indicating that it is a tuple or square bracket also can be put, which can tell that this is also a list, right? And you can see that a three-dimensional array is created. When you want to print, there are attributes in the NumPy array. Endem is going to tell the dimensionality. This is 3-dimensional, so it will print 3. And shape will tell the number of rows, number of columns. In each dimension, what is the size? In the first dimension, the size is 2. In the second dimension, 3. And in the third dimension, 3. Yeah, already we have seen about the dimension. So dimension will tell for any array we can use it, right? Here it's a two-dimensional array, so it is telling dimension is 2. And we have got a item size as we used it in the beginning of the session. Item size will tell how much of bytes, how many bytes will be allocated for each element in the array. So we can see that 8 bytes will be allocated, and D type is going to tell what is the data type that is going to be for each element. It is int64. We can also control, we can tell even int32. There are also like float, double, everything is available. You can just go to the page and NumPy data types you can type, and you can go to the page and see what are the different data types that are available. And size, if you give the array name and give the size, it will tell how many elements are totally there. Even if it is multi-dimensional array, it will just tell the total number of elements. It will add the elements in each dimension and give us. Shape is going to tell the shape of the array. Here it is 2-dimensional, so it is giving 2, 3. Next we are going to discuss how we can access elements of a array. It's very straightforward. So if it is 1-dimensional, we will give one index, right? It's just like indexing what we will do in Python. You will just give the element index, and as we know, index starts from 0 only, NumPy also. When we have got 2-dimensional array, the first way is like we do in other languages and in Python also. If I want to access the second row, third element, I can tell like this: 1 followed by 2 in separate square brackets. Or it is also possible to tell like this. There are two ways. You can put in the same square bracket and you can tell 1, 2. This is also possible. This is also perfectly fine. We can check that. Yeah, this will also work. And for 3D also, you can give each dimension index separately in pair of square brackets, or you can put everything together in a single square bracket and you can separate them by commas. That will also be accepted, right? Yeah. So next what we are going to discuss is about reshaping an array in NumPy. For example, if you have got a 1-dimensional array, you want to convert it into 2-dimensional, or 2-dimensional you want to convert it into 1-dimensional, it is possible. These operations will be very much helpful when we are going to do some kind of machine learning algorithm, or when we want to implement or do some manipulations. It is definitely required. We have used it in many places, so it's important to know about it. What we are doing here is we are using the arange function and generating 24 elements, because 1, 25 the stop value will be excluded. And then what we have to do is we can use the reshape function. I can tell 6, 4. If I tell the array name dot reshape 6, 4, then there will be 6 rows and 4 columns. That is what we mean. And if you give 4, 6, there will be 4 rows and 6 columns. Yeah, I can change now the dimension and check 4, 6. You will see that there will be 4 rows and 6 columns. Yeah. And when you want to convert a 2-dimensional to 1-dimensional, then there are two options for doing it. The first one is reshape, that we will see later. Other one is ravel, is a built-in function. So when we use the ravel with a 2D array, automatically it will be converted to a 1D array. And when you want to use reshape, we can call through the 2-dimensional array and use reshape and give -1. Generally we give the number of rows and number of columns when you want to convert from 1D to 2D, isn't it? Instead of that, if you are giving a 2D array, just give reshape -1, then it will be converted to a single dimensional array. Next, what we are going to discuss is about slicing in NumPy. Slicing in NumPy is very much similar to slicing in Python, where you have to give two values when I want to cut off. But the point here is we have done already in list. When you want to do slicing in list, how do we generally do is we give the start index from where the cut has to happen, and then we will give a stop value where the cut has to stop. Here it is a 2-dimensional array. Now we are going to do it in a 2-dimensional array. How we can do is we have to tell from which row to which row. There are two things that we have to give. Two things have to be given. One is the number of rows that you want, comma the columns. Rows, comma columns, right? How do we do is, if I want from the first row up to the third row, then I will give 1:4. And then if I want from the third column up to the fifth column, then I will give 3:6. I can give like this. Two things I have to give. It's not like one. We have to give two things and we have to separate it by a comma. Now we can see that here when we run the code, the original array is having elements 1 to 5 in the first row, and up to 35 we have generated. When we tell 1 colon 4, I want from the first row, it means that this element, right, 1 first row, and I want from index 3, right? So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and when you see the column also 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So I want from the first row up to the fourth, so third. So that is what we mean. I want these rows, and in these rows I want from the third column up to the fifth column. So I want to print only from 9, 10, 11, 9, 10, 11, 15, 16, 17 to 21, 22, 23. So a sub array will be created. It will be a 3 cross 3 since we have given the dimension like this. So that is how we will do slicing in NumPy. Yes, we can see, we can run it also and see. We will see that. Yeah, already it is removed, so it's gone. Next, we are going to see, we can also ignore. Like in Python, where we can ignore one of the dimension, right? When we are doing slicing, we can sometimes ignore the start value or the stop value also. Similarly here also, we are telling the start value is 1, and then we are telling the stop value is not mentioned. So in that case, what will happen is, it will go till the end, and column we are telling 3 to 6, right? So all the rows from the second row will be included. So when we run it, we can see that all the rows from the second row will be included. I think we have to run this particular cell, otherwise we will not get as expected. Yeah, yes. So you can see here, when I want from 1, 4, 3, 6, I am getting this, and when I want the row from the second one, we are able to get this, right? So next, what we are going to discuss is about the built-in methods to create the NumPy arrays. The first function is arange function. Already we have seen about it, which is similar to our range function. Then we have got zeros function, which will generate a number of zeros. You can create an array of zeros in single dimensional, 2 dimensional, 3 dimensional, and so on. Similarly, ones. When you use ones, all the elements will be ones. Similar, you can create 1D, 2D, 3D, and so on. I is little bit different, which will be like a identity matrix. We can see in detail about it. And then linspace. Linspace is like arange, but different. Here you will be telling the stop value, that is a start value, stop value, and the number of elements. It will generate those many number of elements from that particular space. We will be telling from this space. For example, from 1 to 10, if it will generate 20 numbers, then it will be generating like 1.5, like that. Equally spaced elements will be generated by linspace. Similarly, we have got log space also. In log space, the space will be like a logarithmic thing, and the elements generated will be spaced as per logarithmic values. And then we can also generate random arrays. There are multiple functions like rand, randant, randant, and so on. We will see the difference one by one. Arange is already familiar. So this is to generate from 0 to 9, and this is to generate from 101 to 130, and the step value. Like in range, you can give step value. Here also you can give step value. And one more thing that we have to notice here is, here the step value can also be a decimal value, right? That is also possible, which is not possible in the range function of Python. But in arange, you can give even decimal values are accepted. And zeros. As we saw zeros, you are going to create here a array of 10 zeros. That's what we mean. And if you want two-dimensional array, two-dimensional array of zeros, then we can give the dimension within parenthesis, either as a list or as a tuple we can give. This will create a 4 cross 5 array with all the elements as 0. That is also possible. Then 3D, that is also possible. Obviously, any dimensions we can go for. And for ones, we have got ones built-in function, np.ones. Here we are telling 10 ones, and this is how we can give the data type. If you want to change the data type, by default it will be giving the data type as int64. If you want to have like different int32 or float, yeah, I think if you are not mentioning, it will create float. So yeah, if you are not mentioning, you can see that it is creating a float array, and we can control by telling int as the value, and you can also mention, okay, I think int64. Okay, np.int32 may be required. We cannot simply tell int32 or something. We have to use np.int32 or np.int64. Various data types are available. You can refer the documentation. And next is I function. I function is to create a identity matrix. Identity matrix, it's very useful when we are doing some matrix operations and all. We know that along the diagonal the values will be 1, right, and other values will be 0. That is what is a identity matrix. Generally it will be a square matrix only, but if you want to have it as a rectangular matrix, there is an option for that also. Here is the command for creating a square matrix of diagonal ones, that is identity matrix of dimension 4. This will create a 4 cross 4 matrix. So we are just giving 4, and we mention the d type as int. If you are not mentioning as int, once again it will be creating like float. And if you want a rectangular matrix, then you can give 2 dimensions 4, 5, and then mention d type equal to int. What we can observe is, of course, we will not have a fifth diagonal element, only 4 it will be there. And we can control the ones. Generally the ones or the main diagonal elements. If you want to control it, there is an option. What we can do is we can use this k. K is a parameter which will tell how the 1 has to be shifted. Generally the main diagonal elements will be 1. If you give it as -1, then the main diagonal elements lower to the, that is next level, come down, right? This is the main diagonal elements. If we give -1, the lower one will becomes 1. If I give +1, the upper one will become, see, this is the diagonal, the upper ones will become 1. And if I give 2 step, right, these elements will become 1. Yeah, like this we can also control the I function. From default the diagonal elements, we can also control it to have other elements along the, like a diagonal, but not the main diagonal. Other diagonals can also be made as ones. Next is about the linspace function. Linspace function is going to give us evenly spaced elements, and we will be giving from and to value, the space in which the elements have to be generated. So the meaning here is, I am telling L1 equal to np.linspace 1, 10, 19. 1 is the start value of the space, 10 is the stop value, and I am telling generate 19 elements in this. So it will be generating like 1, 1.5 up to 10. 10 is included in this. If you want to see the step value that is used, then you can give an option repeat step, RET step equal to true. When you give RET step equal to true, then it will be printing the step value also in addition to the array. Otherwise we will be seeing only the array. But when you give RET step, it will tell what step value it has used. We can also tell like generate 30 elements. The number of elements we can tell. Yeah. Here when I tell 1, 10, 30, from 1 to 10, 30 elements are generated, and the step value is used is given here 0.3103. Right. Next what we are going to discuss is about the log space function. Log space function is similar to linspace. It is going to have a start value, it is going to have a stop value, and going to generate those many number of values which we mentioned. But the space is going to be in the logarithmic scale. And how the elements will be is, the first element will be base. We will be giving the base for the logarithmic thing also. So base power start will be the first value that will be generated, and base power stop will be the last value. So the options, two mandatory parameters are required. One is the start value, other one is the stop value. And apart from this, we will also have like integer, num integer, that is going to tell number of samples that we are going to generate. By default it is 50, we can also mention it. And endpoint, endpoint is by default also true, and you can make it as false. If you make it as false, then it will not be, that stop value will not be included. And then base, base is going to tell the base with which the logarithmic space has to be considered. Default is 10. D type is going to tell the type of data. Otherwise it will infer from the values, and generally float. In most of the cases in NumPy, if we are not mentioning the data type for the arrays, it prefers to make it as a float, right? So here we are generating elements in the log space. We are telling generate from 1 to 10 and num equal to 5. So number of elements should be 5, and endpoint equal to true we have given. So what we have to understand here is, the first element will be base is 10. So 10 power 1 will be the first value, and then the second value will be, 10 power 1. 10 power 1 will be the first value, and the last value will be 10 power 10. Since we have given endpoint equal to true, that value will be the last value. Other values will be uniformly spaced. Here we have given 5. So you can see the first element is 1. Second element will be 1.77 into e power 3. And the next one will be 3.16 into e power 6. 5.623 into e power 7. So up to the last value, the space is equally divided into 5. And the values are given. And you can tell endpoint, this is from 5. If you want to generate from 5, you can control. That's what is shown here. I can also say from 5 to 10. Yeah, if you are going to tell 5 to 10, the first value will be this base power 5, right? Base is 10, 10 power 5. Here you can see the start value is 1. So 10 power 1, right? This is 10 power 10. This is 1 power 10. Alright. Yes, this is 1 power. Yes, it is base power start. Okay, so 10 power 1. That is the first thing, right? Here base is 10, 10 power 5. It will be generated, and when we give the endpoint equal to false, what will happen is the last value will not be included. That's what. So up to 10 power 9, right? It will be generating up to power 9. Okay. So other way, next way of generating is generating random numbers. There are 3 ways to generate random numbers. The first one is rand function. Second one is rand_n function, and the third one is rand_int function. When you see the difference between all these three, rand_n for generating integers from start value to stop value and size of the array we will be giving. That is different. But when we look at rand and rand_n, the difference is the distribution that is used by those functions. Rand function will use uniform distribution from 0 to 1. Rand_n will use standard normal or Gaussian distribution around 0, right? And when you look at the values generated, the mean of the value will be 0 and variance will be 1. That is what we can observe when rand_n function distribution. We can just plot it. We are not going into the depthness of plot, but just for understanding, we can see how rand function is generating. You can see it is uniform, whereas rand_n generation, you can see it's a Gaussian distribution around 0. That's what we can observe. And how we will use rand function and rand_n is, once again we can use one dimensional or two dimensional for generation. generating the random numbers. Here rand of 4 will generate a array of one dimensional array of random numbers which is one dimensional. 4 elements will be generated, and 3 comma 4 a two dimensional array of random numbers will be generated where there are 3 rows and 4 columns. So we can run it and check, and random the usage is same. Here 4 elements will be generated of single dimensional array. Next 2 dimensional array will be generated, but the distribution will be different. Here in the first case rand function you cannot see negative values at all. It is going to generate from 0 to 1 and uniformly it is going to almost like same. The value will not be very much differing. It's uniform distribution will be used. Whereas for this the normal distribution will be used for generation for random. Next is randint. Randint function will generate a random integer. So when we are telling randint of 20, from 0 to 20 any one random number will be generated, and we can run and check now what we see what number is getting generated. Now 5 is generated, and we can tell the start value also. We are telling 2 comma 20 means from 2 to 20 any one number. Now we got 14. If we give a third argument 2 comma 20 comma 7, then 7 integers from 2 to 20 will be generated, which will be an array. Next we are going to see about the arithmetic operations that we will be doing with NumPy array. As we saw earlier, NumPy array, generally arithmetic operations, when the array size is equal, it is just going to do the operation with the ith element, between the ith element of the two arrays. What I mean to tell is, when I tell a plus b, first element of a and first element of b will be added, and second element of a and second element of b will be added, and so on. Like that, correspondingly the arithmetic operation will be done between the elements. And one interesting concept that is present in NumPy is broadcasting. What is broadcasting is, if you want to add a constant to all the elements of the array, we can simply tell array name plus the integer value. Here we are telling a equal to a plus 50. What will happen is 50 will be added to all the elements of a. This is what is broadcasting. In broadcasting, what it is doing is, it is taking a single integer, but internally NumPy will create an array of size equal to a with all the elements as 50 and do the addition. This is what is broadcasting. It relaxes the condition that when we are doing arithmetic operations, both the arrays should be of same size, and it is easy to work with NumPy because of these features. Similarly, we can do mathematical functions. We can apply mathematical functions also. This is also like broadcasting only, where we will tell just np dot square root. If you want to apply square root for a NumPy array, we can just tell np dot square root the array name. For each and every element, square root will be applied and the resultant will be stored in the new array. And inbuilt functions like exp for exponential, and you can find sine value or cos value or logarithmic value, right? Sum of the array can be found by using sum function. Standard deviation can be found. There is a built-in std function for finding the standard deviation. And we can also find sum of elements in 2D array. If you are having a 2D array like this, if you tell 2D dot sum, all the elements, totally all the elements will be added and its result will be returned. And suppose if you want to read along the row or the column, that is also possible. We can tell the 2D array name dot sum and mention the axis. 0 is for rows. If you want to add along the rows, right, then you have to give axis equal to 0. 1 is for columns. So when I tell axis equal to 0, along the rows addition will happen. So you will get column sum. And when we tell axis equal to 1, along the columns it will add. So we will get row sum. We can just verify it. For axis equal to 1, it is just adding along the columns, right? 3, 6, 10 and then 15, 21. That's what we will get. And when I tell axis equal to 0, it will add along the rows. So 13 plus 7 will be 20, 21 and 40. Yeah, when you see the first element 40, here it is 21. You can just work out and see. This Jupyter notebook will be once again shared in GitHub and the link will be given in the description box. And when you want to know the maximum and minimum value, there are built-in functions to do that. Just we are printing the 2D array to verify, and you tell maximum is 24, minimum is 1. Argmax will give the index of the maximum element, where the maximum element is located. That's what is the functionality of argmax. Argmin will give the location of the minimum element in the array. Here we have just got it in ascending order. So we got the minimum element in the first position and the maximum element in the last position. Next, what we are going to discuss is about stacking of arrays in NumPy. Either you can do horizontal stacking or vertical stacking. What is meant by horizontal stacking is, here we have got a two-dimensional array. So let me write the array. It is like 1, 2, 3 and then 4, 5, 6. And then we have got another one array B, and that B is having 0.5, 1, 1.5, and then we are having 2, 2.5, 3. These are the two arrays. When I tell H stack, it will horizontally stack the elements. So horizontally stacked elements means these elements will be added to the first row, elements will be added to the end of the first row of A, and second row will be added to the end of the second row of the B. So if we tell C, how C will be is 1, 2, 3, and then B, the elements of first row from B will be added 0.5, 1, 1.5. First it will add the elements of second row from A, and then it will add the elements of second row from B. So 2, 2.5, 3. This is how it will add, and we will get the new. This is what is horizontal stacking. Horizontal stacking means the rows will be added. The rows will become extended. That's the meaning. Let's execute the code and check. Yeah, we are getting the rows extended. Next, what we are going to see is about vertical stacking. So in vertical stacking, what will happen is, once again the arrays are 2D and these elements are present. When we tell np dot b stack of a comma b, the elements of A will be added into C. So the rows of A will be added, and then the rows of B will be added. So along the column it will be extended. Number of columns will number of rows will increase. That is, actually we are vertically stacking it. It is extending along the column. That's what I can interpret. The interpretation may differ for you. So this is how the elements will look like after we vertically stack. When we execute and see also, we see that after we stacking, we get the elements like this. Next, what we are going to discuss is about inserting a row or column in a 2D NumPy array. If we have got a NumPy array like this, there are 3 rows already. First we have got 3 rows, and then what we are doing is, we are calling the insert function of NumPy package. We are telling a comma 1, right? A comma 1, and we are giving a array. Then you are mentioning the axis. Since we are telling axis equal to 0, a new row will be created at the position 1. After we run the code, we can see that the row 10, 11, 12 is inserted. And similarly, you can also insert a column. When you tell axis equal to 1, a column will be added. Now we are telling A, and then we are telling at 1, 10, 11, 12. So 10, 11, 12 will be added as the first column. Next we are going to discuss about deleting a row or column in a 2D NumPy array. We have got a built-in function delete. So we can tell delete 2 Okay, so second row or column that is given by axis. When we tell axis equal to 0, it means that we are going to delete the second row. We can run the code and also check. We can see that before deletion, the matrix, it's not matrix, it's a 2D array. It looks like this, and when we tell delete 2, the second row will be removed. That is row at the index 2. Third row actually is removed. You can notice this. And similarly, you can delete a column also. When you want to delete the column, you have to give axis equal to 1, right? We have got a 2D array like this. When we tell axis equal to 1 and 2, the third column will be removed. So you can see that the other columns are present in the resultant matrix. Next, what we are going to discuss is about how matrices are in NumPy. Of course, 2D array is like a matrix, but it is not a matrix. We will find the difference when we do multiplication. Actually, it will do only element by element multiplication. That is not matrix multiplication. All the matrix operations will not be like matrix operations in 2D array. It will be like a 2D array operation. If you want purely a matrix, then we have to go for the specific matrix option present in NumPy array. So we have to use np.matrix. Instead of np.array, we have to use np.matrix. How we will create a matrix is, we have to give it within quotes, and each row will be separated by a semicolon, right? Here we are telling np.matrix 1 space 2 semicolon 3 space 4. So there are going to be 2 rows, and in each row there are going to be 2 elements. Spaces is going to tell the separation between the elements in the same row. And here we are creating second matrix where there are 2 rows, and in each row the elements are separated by spaces. And there are also attributes for matrices, like you can see what is the shape of the matrix. It's 2, 2. Size of the matrix is the number of elements 4. And we can do the arithmetic operations. First we are seeing the matrix, and when you tell plus, addition will happen between the elements. So 1 plus 5 will be 6, 2 plus 6 will be 8, 3 plus 7 will be 10, and 8 plus 2 will be 12. Similarly, you can do subtraction. When we do subtraction, minus 1 minus 2, 1 minus 5 will be 4. Each and every element itself results to minus 4. We can also do dot product. When we do dot product in matrix, it's equivalent to matrix multiplication only. But whereas in arrays, it will be different. So we are telling np.dot mat1 comma mat2, it will do matrix multiplication. So along the first row, along the first column, so 1 into 5 and 1 into 5 plus 7 into 2 will be 19. That will be the first element, and so on. If you want to do just multiplication, put a star also. That is also matrix multiplication only. And division, we can just use np.divide for doing it. So matrix division will also be done. You can find the transpose of a matrix. To find transpose of the matrix, either we can use np.transpose for doing it. You can see it is transpose. 1, 2 has become 1, 3, 2, 4. Or else there is a easy method also. The name of the matrix dot t. This will also just create a transpose of the matrix. Either we can use np.transpose, or just the matrix name dot t will also give the transpose of the matrix. You can see the resultant matrix is transpose of the original matrix. And you can insert a column and row as we were doing in the 2D array. If you want to insert a row, okay, this is inserting a column, I think, yeah, axis equal to 1. How we can do is create a new column, and then you can tell just insert, and then the matrix where you want to insert, the position, and then name of the single dimensional array, right? Or this is not a single dimension, this is a matrix which is having n rows. It should be having n rows and 1 columns. Here there are 2 rows, so it's a 2 cross 1 matrix. And you tell the axis. If you give axis as 1, then it's going to be a column that will be inserted. And similarly, you can insert a row also. You can create a row. and you can tell where you want to insert. Here we are telling 0, so the first row, it will be inserted in the first position, the first row will change. Yeah, so you can see here this element, these elements 22, 23, 24 are inserted as the first row. Similarly, we can do deletion also. np.delete. If you want to delete a row, give access as 0 and give the row which we want to delete. Index starts from 0. So when I want to delete the first row, we have to give 0, right? So this is the virginal matrix. When we delete the first row, this row will be removed and rest of the rows are present. And similarly, we can delete the first column also. In that case, give access equal to 1 and give 0. You will see the column is being removed. Yeah, this column is removed and so on. Now we are going to see how a linear algebra with matrices can be used in NumPy package. So we are creating a matrix. This is actually a 4 cross 4 matrix. So let us print the matrix and see. Yeah, you can find the determinant. If you want to find the determinant, just tell np.linearalgebra.det. This function will take a matrix as input and return the determinant value of the matrix. We can find the rank of a matrix also. Just tell np.linearalgebra.matrix_rank, pass the matrix whose rank we want to find, it will give the rank. And you can find the inverse of the matrix also by using np.linearalgebra.inv. This function will return the inverse of the given matrix. And when we want to solve a system of linear equation, it is possible. Consider these 3 linear equations. If you want to solve it, just form 2 matrices. One matrix will have the coefficient of the equations on the left hand side. Here I have got 3, 1, 2 as the coefficient in the first equation. So 3, 1, 2 will be the first row elements, semicolon, and 3, 2, 5. Yeah, 3, 2, 5 semicolon, and then 6, 7, 8. This will be the A matrix, and then B will be having the values on the right hand side, 2 semicolon minus 1 semicolon 3. Now if you use np.linearalgebra.solve and if you pass the 2 matrices, you will see that it will just find the solution for the variables x, y and z. Now we are printing the solution. Value of x should be 1.242, value of y should be 0.81 and value of z should be minus 1.27. Yeah. So these are all the very core functionalities that is present in NumPy, which will also help us to do machine learning tasks. It will be helping us when we are learning about scikit-learn or if you are learning about matplotlib. Those packages are also based on NumPy package. So these basic functions will help us. I'll be sharing the notebook in the GitHub. You can practice and check it. Thank you.